And the one lesson I've had to learn this lesson over and over again is basically just don't overcrowd the vegetables. See, I say that the reason why I learned this lesson over and over again is because I see this here and I'm like, I don't want to do this in 2 batches. Okay, watch. This is foreshadowing right now. Alrighty, everyone. So tonight we're gonna be making some roasted vegetables. So here, what I just got some cauliflower. Cauliflower tends to be one of the things that, so really like cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, basically any of the brassicas, I want to say that they are. They're all related to each other. Basically, I generally like to make any of those things into roasted veggies for the week, right? So this is looking like a nice head of cauliflower right now. I'm just going to cut off the face here to give me something nice to work with, right? And there's a few different ways of cutting the cauliflower. I tend to follow a method where I break this up into quarters. And then I just go through this and I cut the stems off this way. Right? And I'll go through this and I'll break this apart later on. But you can see here just by doing that, right? Like there are ways of cutting up the cauliflower such that you get more consistent pieces, but I've always found that those methods just take too long. And I'm sorry, like I just get some of these things, like if the work becomes too onerous relative to the product that you're getting, it's hard to justify it, right? So like if I'm making like a prime rib, right, I will go through the effort to be really careful with how I handle everything, because the quality of the prime rib at the end is like worth the cost. And like roasted cauliflower is good, but it's not really like go out of my way and make it super elegant good, right? So all I'm doing right now is I'm trying to get the pieces into roughly a similar size here. I'm just searching for any pieces which are exceptionally large. Like this one might be a little bit big. Oh yeah, this one's definitely too big. Okay, so with this here, let me go ahead and get the next batch cut up here. So I'm just going to push all this into. I know this looks a little bit inefficient, but I find this is just the easiest way for me to deal with cleanup for this. What I have sometimes done is add these cauliflower stems and things to stock. I think in this case, because my pot is already quite full, I don't know if I'll add on everything here. Maybe I'll add some of these like bigger pieces here. Yeah. I'm not really sure about adding the leaves to the stock. That I'm always a little bit less sure of. Basically, the leaves I think might not hold up in the stock. Like it's good to minimize waste, right? But I think there's also diminishing returns on what you can get out of waste. If you guys have any ideas on what to do with these extra pieces of cauliflower, you can let me know in the comments, I guess. Okay, this is good. I'll cut these into. Okay, that's good. So I'm just gonna go around with some oil. So I'm not a super experienced chef by any means, right? I basically just cook casually for fun, and I try to follow recipes online and try to be better, and a lot of this is just a hobby for me. The only sort of semblance to street cred that I have is that I've actually gone through multiple bottles of cayenne, and the reason why I mentioned that is just because, where's my cayenne bottle? So this bottle I have saved. This is Best by August 2017, and so when I started cooking, I got this bottle. Chef John is like one of the oldest people making food YouTube videos, and one of his signature things for a long time. I haven't watched his videos more recently, but for a long time his signature was always adding a little shake of cayenne to everything. And I kept the first bottle of cayenne that I completed, or that I completely used up. I think it's the only herb that I've completely used up ever, the entire bottle of. And so I just hold on to this as like a that's like the only badge of street cred that I have, as it were. I've actually used up a full bottle of cayenne following Chef John's recipes. Okay, it just brings back memories. Okay, so I'm just tossing these herbs, these cauliflower in the salt, pepper, and oil. Oops. I probably should have used a bigger pan for this, but that's okay, or a bigger bowl for this, but that's okay. So I've got my oven preheating to 425 right now. For those of you watching the chicken video, I basically never turned off the oven. So I got this here. I'm going to pour this out onto a pan. And the one lesson that I've learned, I've had to learn this lesson over and over again, is basically just don't overcrowd the vegetables. See, I say that the reason why I learned this lesson over and over again is because I see this here and I'm like, I don't want to do this in 2 batches. Okay. This is foreshadowing right now. I know that when I pull these out, it's not going to be as brown as it could have been because there's just too many things on here. But this is probably a little bit too much because the cauliflower pieces are like sort of touching each other, right? So I think this spacing is a little bit too tight here. But I am lazy again. I can't. Baking or roasting vegetables is not even that like strenuous because it's just time gated. But so I've got that in there. I'll put that in there for about 20 minutes or so. I'll check in on 20 minutes and see how it's going to go, how much longer it needs. It's probably going to need about like 30 minutes total. But I think if I went up even to 45 minutes, it'd be okay. Okay, so I'm going to get the chicken cleaned up, or sorry, I'm going to get the kitchen cleaned up, and I will check back in with you guys in a little bit. Alrighty, so it's been a little bit over 30 minutes or so, and I'm just checking in on this thing here. So I rotated this once about 10 minutes ago. I can tell that the cauliflower is browning nicely, but more importantly, I could smell the roasted cauliflower coming through, right? So I got a couple more minutes on there, and then I'll check back in on that in a little bit. I'll pull that out of the oven in a couple minutes. Alrighty, so my timer is up. I think the cauliflower is in a good spot here. I'm going to let this cool for just a minute. I'm going to scrape everything off, and I'm going to put them away. Right, so this is basically me doing a little bit of meal prepping. So I'm not actually going to have the cauliflower today, but this is going to be our vegetable for the week here. Right, so I'll let this cool for just a little bit. I'm going to get the rest of my dinner ready for today, and I'll show you what this looks like once I start packaging it up. Alrighty, so these cauliflower pieces have been cooling down for a couple minutes here. The reason why I wanted them to cool off just a little bit is because I'm going to be storing them in these deli containers, and basically I'm always wary of putting anything which is a little bit too hot inside the deli containers for fear that might start causing some sort of reaction with the plastic. But I think this is in a good spot now. So what I'm just going to do here is I'm first going to loosen everything. Oh yeah, look at how nicely this cauliflower has browned on the bottom. We'll ignore the pieces that haven't browned as nicely on the bottom. Okay, so this is good here. And even if I could fit all these cauliflower into one container, that would be a little bit too much for us for one serving. So I generally try to portion things out based off of how much we would need in one meal. So I'm just gonna go back and forth on these two things until they're full, rather than trying to get one of them fully maxed out and then adding some to the other one. So the way I've roasted these things here, you could actually do the same thing with like almost any vegetable, not just the brassicas, right? So this is often I use the same method for roasting all the like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, think I also do a similar thing with carrots. Although if I'm honest, we just don't have carrots as often when it comes to roast vegetables. So it's soft and tender with a little bit of kick from the spices, and just a touch of salt and pepper on it to round out the seasoning. Right? I always like it. It doesn't because of the cauliflowers are browned. Right, the cayenne is almost invisible on here, so the spice is a little bit of a surprise. Well, it's good. So that's it for this video. I will check back in with you guys next time.